elected to the International Executive Board in 1996. In May of this year, Mary Kay became the first woman to become president of SEIU, and I'm honored to present to you Mary Kay Henry, our international president.
I had the good fortune of being with your President, Kathy, I think in my first week in office at the Connecticut State Council meeting, and she and Patrice, your Secretary-Treasurer, were incredibly welcoming to me, and I feel like I've gotten to know many of you through their descriptions of both your trials and tribulation. And so I'm very deeply honored to be with you here today, and I wanted to acknowledge your Executive Director, Bob Rinker, who I've known for a long time in SEIU, and he's been a huge help to us nationally in thinking about what our public service members face in bargaining, especially around pensions at the state and municipal level. And I wanted to acknowledge Ed Daly, who I just had the pleasure of meeting, your past president and the head of the Retiree Council. I said to Ed that one of the first things I heard from our retiree member on our International Executive Board, Mark Earls, is that this local union has the model retiree council for all of the country, and we're looking to your leadership to help build a retiree membership in SEIU of 250,000 retirees. So thank you. I also want to acknowledge all the members of the Executive Council that are here. I know you're in the middle of voting, and we'll soon have an announcement of a new leadership team. And I'm really sorry I'm going to have to leave right before lunch because 1,000 members of ours are gathering in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and so I'm going to be joining with them tonight to talk about the crisis facing all working people in this country and how our union is determined to join hands with all of the members of this union across the labor movement and with all of our allies to push back on the incredible attack facing working people and basically think through how we meet this challenge in public service, which I'm about to describe. But there are two leaders in our international union that are going to help lead the way on listening to what you think ought to be our aggressive, comprehensive response on behalf of public service members after the November 2nd elections. And I wanted to introduce our Vice President, Eileen Curlin, who many of you have known. And her partner, our Vice President, Leslie Frame, who serves as the Public Division Director. And I think the officers had asked me to have you both join us up here on stage, but that's up to you. And then you know that the power of this great organization is united with the other members of SEIU inside the state of Connecticut. And since we are facing such a clear choice for working people November 2nd, I wanted to acknowledge your State Council Director, Paul, is he in the room? Filson, thank you, Paul Filson. Thank you. I also want to say it was an honor to meet the man that you helped put over the top in the, for the governor's race here in the great state of Connecticut. I was able to visit quickly with Dan Malloy outside, and it is clear to me that he agrees with what your president, Kathy Austin, said in the most recent newsletter, which is this organization is no paper tiger. That he understands that your commitment, your volunteering, your door knocking, your phone banking, your spreading the word is going to make a decisive difference in terms of him being governor, and that role will make a key difference in being able to function as a partner with this governor in meeting the future for all working people. But in addition to honoring all these other leaders, most of all what I want to do is honor each and every one of you. Because your leadership in this organization is the fundamental key to making a huge difference for all working people as we think about the future. And you have done amazing work in the past 2 years. You are making a powerful difference for all of our communities, for the state service, for municipal service and education workers, and for all working people. You are role models, as I've said, for SEIU locals all across the country, but particularly in 3 areas: building coalitions, preventing privatization, and tapping the power of our retiree members. You have built strong coalitions at the state and local levels that got parents and community allies energized with us to both protect good jobs and preserve services for the that people of Connecticut rely on. Through CBAC and in Avon and in the Wyndham and Preston schools, well done. My hat's off to you for building those strong coalitions. And you kept up a decades-long fight against privatization and for accountability in outsourcing public services, whether it was the DOT contracting out bridge safety inspections or the town of Enfield replacing public servants with costly private consultants. And finally, no one has done a better job on making sure everyone can retire with dignity. You organized over 1,000 new retired public employees, preserved state retirees' hard-fought pension and health care benefits, and you are standing strong against election year lies and half-truths and attacks on our pension. I salute you, and so do the 2.2 million members of SEIU all across this country. But I know that this economic crisis has impacted many, many of you, both personally and on the job. And many of you are no doubt doing more with less, especially in the face of increased public demand for services. I want to talk about what we need to do and the steps that have been going on since I was elected in May to prepare for a comprehensive response to this crisis and the attack on public services. But before I get carried away with that plan, I thought I should properly introduce myself, since this is my first time addressing this incredible assembly. I am the eldest daughter of 10 children. I learned organizing skills early on, and the oldest sisters in any group will know what I'm talking about. And the younger siblings can growl at me, as my younger siblings do. But the biggest gift that upbringing gave me, I would say, is that I understood the power of people moving together in a group. Whether it was like getting the yard cleaned or cleaning out the house, I understood that when people act together, better things can happen for everyone. And I'm a practicing Catholic. I grew up believing that I had a personal responsibility for the common good, and I am driven today by an understanding that we as an organization have to bear responsibility for reminding this country, no matter what faith we come from, that we all have a responsibility to restoring common good and fairness in our economy. I'm also the proud godmother of 2 of my 23 nieces and nephews. My brother's daughter is my one goddaughter, and I have my life partner's nephew is the other godson that I have. Those 2 have been connected to each other through our family gatherings, and they are now texting each other nerd alerts when they see something that I'm wearing that doesn't look quite right, or when they see a quote in the media that they think was very goofy. And so I am humbled by the text alerts. I grew up in Michigan when the UAW was strong, and when the UAW made sure that public services were fully funded by saying that they should fight for social and economic justice for all working people in the state. And I remember a time, like many of you I'm sure, when public service work was held in incredibly high regard. And it was seen as an honor and a sacrifice that public service workers made to earn less than people did in the private sector because you care about the community that you live in. I've also been blessed in my 30 years in the union, having worked with public members, property service members, and healthcare workers, to see a sea change occur when we are able to unite private sector workers and allow them to collectively bargain. So I had the privilege of seeing in Southern California, where we were 9% strong, going to 50%, and seeing non-union employers completely change their behavior in hospitals and raise wages 5% and provide independent employee-only health care coverage when the rest of the workers in that community decided to form a union. So I understand in the depth of my being that it is possible to make change happen even in really tough times. And we won another sea change this past year when, thanks to your hard work here in Connecticut, we won major national health care reform. And you are way ahead of the pack on putting them in the place in the right way to the benefit of young children, retirees, and our friends and neighbors. And this is why SEIU believes in our bones that we can take the best of everything that we've learned and use it to create a fair economy. We believe as a union that if you work hard for a living, that you should be able to raise a family without having to work 2, 3 jobs to make ends meet. We believe that all working people should be able to retire with dignity after a lifetime of hard work. And we believe that the next generation, our kids and grandkids, should be able to get a quality education and a shot at college if they want it, so they can have a better life than the ones we have. Over the years in SEIU, I've seen working people face incredible odds and win historic breakthroughs. And that is why the SEIU Executive Board and the division leadership boards and assemblies like this have been willing to take risks and rededicate ourselves to making sure that our organization can be a vehicle for change for all working people, so we can lift wages in this country, expand benefits, and improve the lives of all working men and women. But let's face it, things have changed, and workers, particularly workers providing public services, have got it rough right now. Here in Connecticut and across the country, we are already seeing cuts of what we used to think would be unimaginable, like 911 emergency operators, mental health care workers, and road maintenance crews. Our ability to safeguard the health and safety and quality of living in our communities is severely impaired. We are also seeing a new and deeply disturbing related pattern from California to New Jersey. Even in union strongholds, politicians now regularly blame public employees and retirees, our unions, especially our pensions, for causing government revenue shortfalls. This is neither accidental nor coincidental, and it is not true, as the people in this room know best. The budget problems we face are a direct result of 30 years of bad economic policy geared to help Wall Street, corporate CEOs, and big banks, and leave the rest of us fighting for the scraps. And the attacks our members are planned and coordinated to pit the public against the services they count on. And why? Because unaccountable corporate interests want to privatize and profit off public service, and they want to kill off any chance that working people have a say through their union. It's their vision of America that is hurting us, and we have an obligation to step up our game and not allow large corporations and the politicians that they influence to tell us that we are the problems. They are the ones who allowed deregulation of Wall Street. They are the ones that allowed the race to the bottom, and they are the ones who are guilty of underfunding our pensions. We are not going to allow them to keep coming up with one excuse after another